So guys, World War III, are you ready? Because we are now just dealing with the aftermath of Israel having attacked Iran, just all over Iran, a completely unprovoked attack in what they're saying are military targets that just happen to have killed loads of women and children again, as is their one. So in the Western media, this is being framed as a preemptive strike, guys, because Iran, as you know, was evil, and they were kind of like making nuclear weapons, I would say maybe in a van or something, and they were just about to come out of the van and throw them at the West and just destroy the West, because everyone in Iran just hates the West, apparently. So Israel had to attack. They'd no choice. It was self-defense. They had to defend themselves against that and maybe bring us into a nuclear holocaust. But it's just so weird though, because the Israelis have been claiming this, like, you know, Iran are just about to develop nuclear weapons and use them for 30 years. 30 years they've been saying that. You can go back and check the history books. Netanyahu specifically has been saying this for 30 years. And it just so happened that he chose this day to attack, just today, to coincide with the Knesset potentially dissolving and his own grip on power maybe finally relinquishing. So that, I mean, look, the cynical amongst us will probably smell a rat, but I'm sure it's noble, and I'm sure he's just, you know, spreading democracy and peace and trying to save the world, knowing him. But just a few reflections, I suppose, on these shocking, terrifying developments. The first is that, like, I live in Europe, and what's mad to me is there's such a big push in Europe. You wouldn't believe the push in Europe at the moment. Military spending is going through the roof. Budgets are being broken. There is a kind of a manufacturing consent going on with diplomats and the media all over the place that, like, the war with Russia is coming. The eternal 20th century bogeyman, Russia, like the Russian threat. Guys, we got to start getting ready for war. Even in Ireland, they're encouraging Ireland, tiny little country, whose only secret weapon really is military neutrality. That's what we can offer as a small nation with a very bloody past. We can offer ourselves as an honest peace broker. But there are warmongers even in my country, guys, would you believe, trying to encourage the Irish to give up our neutrality and join NATO and get involved in this obvious, imminent war with Russia. Now, Ireland has like a couple of thousand troops, I think, and like no tanks. So it's hard to imagine the Russians kind of shitting themselves when they hear that Ireland's entering the fray. But anyway, this is the big threat that's coming, and yet Europe's little odious ally, Israel, is doing everything it can to start World War III. Do you know? So like, it's mad, isn't it? You know, with friends like these. The other thing that strikes me then as well, I suppose, is that the Christian Zionists, who I find just endlessly fascinating, I suppose mostly because Christian Zionism as an ideology requires kind of all Jews to be annihilated on end days in order for them to satisfy scripture. You know, like, unless you convert Christianity as a Jewish person, you're getting smited, like. So it's such a weird kind of partnership for me. But anyway, they're all giddy, the Christian Zionists in the States this morning. Like, I'm on Twitter, like, these people are, you know, Senator Randy, absolutely not fine under any circumstances. Lindsey Graham, these people, bombs away, they're saying, you know, game on, all this kind of stuff. Like, you know, I think, I don't know, would you agree with me on this? I think a lot of these AIPAC ghouls, right, who are receiving in excess of $1 million, the cynical amongst us will think, guys, that you're just standing with Israel for the sweet, sweet cash. Why don't you volunteer to send your children to fight and die in Israel's foreign wars? Send your kids to Gaza to fight for Israel right now, maybe, you know, because then I think then we would feel that there's an authenticity to your support for this rogue apartheid state that seems like it's determined to destroy the world. And I suppose my last reflection would be, I, like a lot of sane, rational people, have felt over the last 20 months, there's no way the Israelis are going to get away with this. You know, okay, they've done this, but they won't be able to do that. They won't be able to enter Rafah. They won't be able to indiscriminately bomb Lebanon. They won't be able to break that ceasefire. They won't be able to. And I realised for the first time this morning that there's not going to be a moment, guys. There's not going to be a moment where Western leaders, I don't think, are going to step in and go, no, you've gone too far. They will actually keep supporting this psychotic entity right up to the gates of hell, right up to nuclear war. Even this morning, the eminent Professor Morandi on Sky News, Iranian spokesperson who you probably all know, he wasn't allowed to give testimony really of the fact that many Iranian civilians have already been murdered. Sky News had to come in and say, well, actually, Israel say that they're just targeting, it's just military targets. Just
to say on the civilian casualties, it's true that Iran state media is reporting civilian casualties. We've not had confirmation of that at present. In the meantime, Israel has said that it's struck nuclear targets.
Since you haven't confirmed it, anyone who's watching your program can go to my Twitter account and see an image of a child who was murdered and lying dead. I don't think when you want to speak on behalf of the Israelis, there's no need for all these confirmations, but when it's Palestinians or Iranians or Lebanese, everything has to be confirmed, and by the time they're confirmed, it's all over.
So the West will continue manufacturing consent for this entity right up to and including nuclear war. So I suppose I'm just left with the feeling that if the good people of the world don't stand up now, if the free people of the world don't stand up and fight back right now, then it might be too late, not just for Palestinians, not just for Lebanese, not just for the Iranians, but for humanity and the world as we know it.